I finished off this massive Christmas pad with almost 140 Christmas cards. Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome. So I started this massive Recollections Christmas pad back in July, and I was using it as a Christmas in July project, and then decided to just go ahead and finish it off because it's been in my stash since 2013. And I haven't done a big pad like this in a long time, and so it was I felt like I bit off a little bit more than I could chew just for July, especially since we were gone on vacation for part of it and had other things going on. So I worked on it into August and finished it off last week and ended up making 138 cards to finish off the pad. So just wanted to share the cards with you and kind of my thought process, I had taken all the full sheets that were left and cut down what I could into card mats. Like I went for kind of more solid or at least tone on tone or not super busy backgrounds. So some of them have multiple colors, but they were the least busy backgrounds. Like they didn't have a lot of images going on, maybe other than snowflakes. And then just took the rest of the sheets and went through card sketches or kind of looked at the scraps I had left and made some cards to try and finish them off. And I did try to do like bulk batches. So I would look for a sketch that I could make a bunch of cards with, like not just one-offs. It was more of like, okay, I think I can get like 8 to 10 cards out of this sketch. So let's go with that one. So these first few are ones I didn't have a sketch for. I was just using kind of some of the bits that I had left. I went through and I did some die cutting with circles. I brought in a lot of stamp sets for this one, so I'm not going to show those all to you, but I did cheat in some cases. Like this is stamped on the back side of a small patterned scrap. So there were times where I did use maybe the white side of some pieces to stamp on, or maybe as a mat. And I tried to pick the patterns that I didn't love. So that's kind of a tip. If you are working on a pad and you run across patterns that you don't necessarily love, that are hard for you to use, and it is single-sided, turn it over, use the white side. You can use it to mat other elements on the card. You can use it for stamping images or sentiments, but it's a way to use those patterns that maybe are hard for you to craft with, because you don't love them or you're just not sure how to use them. Use the white side. If you're trying to use up a pad, nothing says that you have to use the pattern side on, everything. So anyway, and then I did also add something to the inside of every card. So this one I was just trying to use up. I had some of these little reindeer scraps that I had cut down to use for something else and just save the reindeer. So this one I was focusing on using up some of the cut apart elements I had. So brought in the joy and then a present. And then this one is a similar layout, was just using a poinsettia and presents. So the rest of them have sketches, and I will link the sketches in the description box below for you. This is Sweet Sunday, number 237. And I have a bunch of like 3.5 by 5 inch envelopes in my stash. I had gotten a good deal on them and thought I could use them, and so I picked them up. And so when I can, I try to make some cards that will use up those envelopes. So I thought these, I would make them. I don't necessarily like to make cards going through the mail with them. They mail fine. I just prefer the A2 size. But when I'm doing cards for soldiers or any other donation cards that I provide envelopes with that maybe aren't going through the mail, like these I would use for cards for soldiers and actually write a note on the inside and make it to a soldier. And so I can use those smaller envelopes with these. So I did make a batch of these and just used up some of the strips that I had for the little corner down here and then brought in a little scrap at the top just to kind of balance out the patterns. This is Operation Right Home number 146. Used some of the tree cut aparts that I had and made a bunch of these. And so the cut aparts, I say cut aparts, but they were really images that I fussy cut out. They had some kind of cut apart sheets in the pad, but you had to fussy cut them out. So that's what all of these cut aparts actually are. This is CPS 217. I like this one just because it used up like a bigger chunk of the patterned paper. And again, this is stamped on the white side of a patterned scrap from this pad. Trying to go through these and not have an avalanche of cards on my desk here. This is Freshly Made Sketches 276. Again, focus on using some of the cut aparts for these. And wreaths and snowmen and penguins and gingerbread. And then I had stamped a bunch of gingerbread men when I started this pad and just colored this one in and added it to a tag. So just fun. I know the cards are busy and I did not use mats for a lot of them. I didn't really, I mean, I could have used the white side of some of the pattern, but I didn't really want to create more cardstock scrap for myself in this because this would have created a lot of scrap. So I was kind of stingy with the cardstock. But these are, I kind of figured these would be great cards for hospitalized kids. Kids love, you know, busy, bright, bold colors and lots of stuff going on. So I figured they would be good for that. This one, I didn't use a sketch for these either, but there was just this cut apart that says "'Tis the Season," and so I just kind of made that the main part of the card. Kind of a quick and easy cheater card there. This is Operation Right Home number 145. Brought in some stickers from my stash on this one, and this time I used some of the pattern paper to kind of map my sentiment, just to help it stand out a little bit. Made a handful of those. Operation Right Home number 116. Again, use the back side for stamping a sentiment here. Got a big bunch of these. Brought in, I had some label stickers and was able to use, they had some that had sentiments on them, and so I was able to use up those on a couple cards as well. Mojo Monday, number 451. These are all the same. I liked that they used a big chunk of patterned paper there. Sweet Sunday, number 178. This used, you know, the circle with the big die cut circle on it, used kind of a big chunk as well. Again, stamped on the white side of some patterned paper. The deconstructed sketch number 129. Got a bunch of these used up. Another fussy cut sentiment on some of them, and then brought in some stamps on some of them. Mojo Monday, sketch number 361. You see me use this one a lot, and it is a great way for using up bigger scraps. And I got a bunch of these. So you get like a big square here, and you have a smaller square here. It's one you don't necessarily need a card mat for because you wouldn't see the card mat if you make the squares big enough. So it uses up big scraps. It uses up strips. I love the sketch. And like I said, I made, I think like 12 or 13 of these. Just going through the different patterns. Did a stitched die cut circle. I did use cardstock on these, but I went through my scraps to find ones that I could die cut circles out of. This is a scrap of pattern paper, not from this pad, but the colors worked. So yeah, so I tried with this pad since I've been trying to work through other scraps as well is if I needed cardstock, to try and go through my cardstock scraps and find what I needed. But this is Case the Sketch number 34. Went and just used some sentiments I already had stamped in my stash on these, because I keep a little thing on my desk that if I print sentiments or stamp sentiments and end up stamping or printing extra, I just keep those on my desk so that when I'm making a card, I can, I'll pull from there too. My favorite things, number 180. Just used a variety of different scraps that would fit for the two elements there in the middle. Another one of those little cut aparts. Mojo Monday, number 378. This does say tall and skinny, but I just adapted it to fit an A2. Again, I was able to use up some of the strips, but then also used up some wider strips for the fishtail elements on the cards. So like I said in the beginning, I tried to find sketches that I could make a bunch of cards with. And so some of them really performed well. Operation Right Home, number 100. This one I did not mat. I just used the elements. And again, I did go to my cardstock stash and looked for scraps. I went to my cardstock scrap stash and looked for scraps that I could die cut circles out of. So this one, I did stitch circle, a colored stitch circle behind my stitch circle sentiment, and then just kind of mixed and matched the patterns. I had some strips that were great for this part of it, and then used smaller pieces for the vertical. So a bunch of these. This one I actually did a patterned circle behind. Another pattern circle. So made a bunch with that sketch. And then Sweet Sunday, number 201. I only got a handful of these. And actually just 3. And on all of these, they're stamped on the back side of pattern paper, and I just punched out some circles. This is Sweet Sunday 239. And I did not mat these just because you wouldn't see much of the mat anyway. My favorite things, number 170. And these, I brought in some more stickers from my stash. I used up a ton of stickers, like older Christmas stickers in my stash on this pad, which is nice because my drawer was really full and now it's kind of manageable. And I actually am out of cute little stickers, so I actually need to, or cute little embellishments, so I may actually need to buy some more Christmas embellishments this season. So I just used cardstock scraps to punch circles. These, I used some other stickers from a sticker book in my stash, and then some of them have patterned circles behind them. Operation Right Home, number 203. And these I did patterned paper circles. I die cut some snowflakes out of some scrap cardstock. And this is my favorite things, 451, and it is great to use smaller bits. So I do have several of these, and then I just brought in a die cut circle and either added a sentiment or a sticker sentiment to jazz it up just a little bit. But it is a great way to use some of those smaller bits and make a focal point out of them. This is my favorite things, number 200. Used up some strips, and then it just kind of went through whatever small strips I could find, whether it was cardstock or patterned paper. I did bring in some white vinyl circles that I had die cut out of scrap vinyl at some point. You all know this one, Operation Ride Home number 154, like my favorite for using up scraps when you're getting down to the end. All you need are, usually I have a lot of like 1.5 to 2 inch strips left. And so this just uses 1.5 inch squares. So great to use those up. And then I just brought in either die cut snowflakes, stickers, whatever I had left. This was one of the last ones that I did. So I was kind of just trying to finish stuff off. And then this is S&S sketch number 6. Again, used up some of the strips that I had left and just created a grid. And I turned my, like, this is oriented vertically. I turned it horizontal to make it work for the patterns that I had left. And I made 4 of those. So, like I said, I got 138 cards to finish off this pad, and this was after I had made all the other projects that you saw. And I apologize for not continuing the process with this series, like the process videos. It just got to the point where we were out of July, and I really kind of wanted to get this done and get started on the August projects I had planned. And it was just quicker for me to kind of work them in, you know, whenever I could. So I am going to do a project wrap up on this next or soon so that you can see everything I made from this pad. It was a massive pad, 180 sheets. I've done them before these big pads, but it's just been a while. So I forgot how long it takes to work through these. So hopefully you got some good card ideas, 138 cards. Hopefully there was something in here that you can use or inspires you to, you know, make some cards out of some paper pads that you have. But I thank you guys so very much for your time today and hope you all have a very crafty day.